Welcome to Real Judaism with Rabbi Klapper. Unfiltered wisdom for Jewish life.
Okay, Bezras Hashem, we're going to start here around Daf Kuf Zayin. Kuf Zayin Oiz Beis. We're talking about Tefillin and how Tefillin is connected to Shabbos, and specifically the aspect that we mentioned last time was that Tefillin is a part of the human body. Kiviyachol, a part of a Jewish body, I should say. That a head without tefillin is missing a limb. It's like he doesn't have his head is not whole. So we're here now going to be discussing what the connection between tefillin, which he says is an ois, and Shabbos, which is an ois. And the beginning over here, he explains what tefillin is. So let's start from here. Ois base. Amnam bezeh cholkim tefillin mi Shabbos. What's the difference between what's the chiluk between tefillin and Shabbos? Tefillin are black. The parshios of the tefillin, which talk about our ikrei emuna, of our belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu and His oneness, and that He took us out of Mitzrayim. All of those are written in parshios, which are inside the boxes. The boxes are made out of leather, and they're painted black, and they're inside the boxes. Except to check it, which you really don't have to do so often. You probably should do it maybe once, but according to some shittas, you shouldn't. Once you checked it once, you shouldn't check it so often, unless the sofer tells you or your Rav tells you, obviously. But it's safe inside there. It's not like a mezuzah. Mezuzah is open to the elements, so because of that, it's much more likely to be damaged. So mezuzah is supposed to be checked twice every 7 years. Tefillin, according to many, don't need to be checked. If you checked it once or twice, maybe you shouldn't even never check it again. Because every time you open up the tefillin and put it back, you have more of a chance of causing damage than the damage that would be caused by just leaving it there. You know? Now, obviously, every person should ask their Rav. There's not, I'm not saying it's la halacha, but I remember I checked my tefillin and then I checked it a second time, and I was going to check it a third time, and someone said, why? Why are you doing that? But okay. The point is that the ikar of the tefillin is the parshias on the inside, but we need the boxes. Obviously, if you don't have the boxes on the outside, you don't have tefillin also. Obviously, every piece is you need. So they're black, and the parshias are inside. And the boxes are made out of leather. We can't explain really the essence of every mitzvah, because there could be so many reasons why Hashem gave us each particular mitzvah. Why did Hashem tell us to do this? Why did Hashem tell us, mezuzahs don't have to be that way. You can have a plain mezuzah, maybe it should be rolled up, but the mezuzah can be out, you can see it. In fact, many people want to have in a way that you could see it, that you can see the Shem Hashem on the outside. But tefillin is dafka not like that. So now here in the next paragraph, he's talking about the idea of a mechitzah. What is a mechitzah? Right? When you have a mechitzah, a separation, what's the purpose of that separation? What do we need that separation for? Hine ba'olam yeshet inyan a mechitzah. What is a mechitzah? Many people think that the point of a mechitzah is to make a separation between two things. But the truth is not that way. It's not to make a separation. Rather, it's to bring things together. The purpose of the separation is actually to bring things together, not to keep things separate. L'moshel, basic knesses, a shul, right? We're setting up the shul now. Tomorrow night is Rosh Hashanah. Setting up the shul now, and we have to set up the mechitzos. What's the purpose of setting up the mechitzos? Yesh mechitzah le'ezros noshim, so that the women can be an ezros noshim. So what does it mean mechitzos? Mo inyan mechitzah. Miot shemehilchos tznius iefshas yeh anoshim murabos im anoshim, because men and women can't intermingle. You cannot have the men and women sitting together. That's a big problem. So based on that, if women and men cannot intermingle, so it must be that the women can't come to shul. They just can't come to shul, because otherwise there's going to be mingling. But because the Chazal and Torah wanted a woman should also be included in Tefillah, B'tzibur. Together, and again, a Tefillah B'tzibur is only when you have 10 men. 10 men makes a Tzibur that you can do a Davesh B'Kedusha. You're davening with a minyan. So, women also should be davening with a minyan if they can. Do they have a chiyuv? Not necessarily. But there's also a milah for a woman to be davening with the tzibur and to hear kriyas HaTorah. Lezeh oise mechitza sheme'ata yesh efsharat lenoshim litkarev ad makom ha'mechitza. Okay, so the idea of a mechitza is that women should come to shul. They should come to shul. But that's the whole point. Lezeh oise mechitza. That's why we need a mechitza. Sheme'ata yesh efsharat lenoshim litkarev ad makom ha'mechitza. The whole point of the mechitzos is so that women can come up until the mechitzah, means they can be in shul too. By yedei kain lishmor dvarim shebekadusha nimtzes hamechitza mekareves ve'afsheres chibur b'li levater al tznius. Now we can have tznius and women can come to shul. Why? Because you have the mechitzah. So the mechitzah itself is something that is mekarev. It brings closeness because you have the mechitzah. V'chein haya b'matan Torah. That's the same thing with matan Torah. Kishba Kodesh Baruch Hu latet the Torah l'amo. When a Kodesh Baruch Hu came to give the Torah to his people, Vayered Hashem al Har Sinai. Hashem came down on Har Sinai. Now the Gemara in Sukkah says that the Kodesh Baruch Hu didn't really come all the way down on Har Sinai. That he was 10 tzvachim above Har Sinai. And he bent the heavens down so the heavens should be right above Har Sinai, so it could be on Har Sinai. V'hinei l'moshel hashemesh hi achaz mehashemoshos aktanos shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'olamo. The sun is one of Hashem's servants. The sun serves Hashem. What would happen? Maya korei. What would happen? Im haisu yoredes hashemesh. If the sun would come right onto Har Sinai, what would happen? Kol ha'olam kula nisra perega. The whole world would just burn. Nothing would be left. Imkein kol shekein Hashem yisbarach hirchin shamayim u'shmei shamayim vayered al Har Sinai. How much more so if the sun is one of the servants of a Kodesh Baruch Hu, and it would burn up the entire earth if it got close to Har Sinai. So how much more so Hashem? So how could Hashem have come down to Har Sinai? The whole world should have been destroyed. The whole world should have burned. How could it be that the world didn't burn? How could that be? Like we said, it just the sun, it would burn up the whole world. There's a medrash that says that there was a certain goy who wanted to make himself into a god. And somebody gave him an eight. Oh, he said, fine. You know what? If you want to be a god, so here's what you need to do. First thing you need to do is stare at the sun. Stare at the sun? I can't stare at the sun. Nobody can stare at the sun. You can't. He said, well, then how are you going to be a god? You see, if you can't stare at the sun, which is one of the servants of God, how in the world do you think you're going to be like God? Even his servant you can't be. You can't even look at his servant. How are you going to be like him? How is it possible? So, how could it be that a Kodesh Baruch Hu came down to Har Sinai? Ela al yedei mechitzos shel choshech anan v'arafel. The pasuk says that there were three barriers. That Moshe Rabbeinu, when he went up to Shemayim, had to pass through these three barriers. Choshech anan v'arafel. Darkness, cloud, and arafel is like a thicker type of cloud. Yeah? A fog. He had to pass through. These are the barriers. Eitzel Matan Torah, Ksuvim Eitzel Matan Torah. These three barriers. They're protection. They're like a mechitzah. There's a spiritual mechitzah that's protecting the world from the presence of Hashem. Because if it was just the presence of Hashem, the whole world would be gone. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu built in that there's going to be these barriers. The barriers are going to protect the world from being destroyed by by HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. Because if HaKadosh Baruch Hu really came to the world, he totally would destroy the world. So that's why you see, you need a mechitza. Right? It's through having a mechitza that we can bring the kedusha of the Rebbeinu Shloim into the world, and that's what happened in Kabbalah Satorah. B'chol mechitzos, we're on Daf Kuf Ches. B'chol mechitzos alalu lo hayu b'shvil l'rachek et Shechina. The purpose of these things is not to keep the Shechina far away, right? That's not the reason. B'shvil l'rachek et Shechina kadosh l'hastir or pnei melech chaim. No, that's not what they're for. Ela adrabah. HaHepech HaGamur. It's the exact opposite. Kedei legalot kabod malchuso lekabel pnei hashchina shezeh efshari rak al yedei riboy mechitzos. You can only experience the Shechina by making filters, by putting barriers, because then we on our level can experience HaKadosh Baruch Hu by Kabbalah Satorah. The mashal, it's like people look at an eclipse. So because an eclipse doesn't have the sun doesn't have the same strength, so people think they can look at it, but it's dangerous. You can go blind. You can blind from that, which is why they make these special eclipse glasses. What is that? That's what it is. It's a barrier. It's a filter which allows you to experience something you wouldn't. What I just want to say, I want it unfiltered. Unfiltered is dangerous. You need to have that barrier in order to be able to see the niflos of Baya. Kol shekain. In order to experience HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you need to create those barriers. Oh, we did that already. This is an amazing thing. This is tefillin. Shachor hu inyan hachashuch v'hester. V'chein bayis u'mechita v'hester. Black is something that hides things. A house is something that keeps things in, that keeps things private. V'ha'or hu mechitos kolel z'magina al kol ramach evarim. What is skin? Skin is what protects your entire body from everything. It keeps everything in, and it protects your body from infection. That's what skin is. So what is the batim, that the boxes of tefillin? These three things which keep things out: skin, or behema, that it's leather; a house, which allows people to do private things on the inside; and black, the color black, which doesn't allow for any light to pass through. Those are the three mechitzos that a tefillin have. Why? Why does tefillin need that? Kol elu tzrichim tefillin. Kasher boim l'kshor et Hashem ha'meforash al ha'moyach v'halev b'kesher shekayamo. When you're coming to tie the name of Hashem onto you, a person's soul should just jump out of his body from the level of kedusha of tying Hashem's name to him. It should be impossible. It should be impossible to live like that. The Gemara in Gittin says that in order to catch Ashmadai, who was the king of the demons, in order to get him to help Shlomo Melech to build the first base of Mikdash, they had, in order to catch him without going through all the things that Ben Yoyada did, in the end, when he put the chains on him, it was the chains that had the Shem Hashem written on it. So he couldn't break them. He couldn't break the chains. That's why he was chained up. He couldn't escape. Even though it says about Ashmanai afterwards that he swallowed Shlomo Melech whole and spit him out about 400, I think, parsas away, right? And Ashmadai, his wings reached from heaven to earth. He couldn't break a chain with Hashem's name on it. That was not possible. He couldn't do that. And of course, Ben Yoyada knew that beforehand, which is why they prepared these chains in order to catch him. Lamaise, when we're putting on tefillin, that's what we're doing. We're tying Hashem's name to us. Our souls should just jump out of our bodies from the amount of kedusha that produces in us. How come that doesn't happen? How come it doesn't happen? Because we have mechitzos. Because the shame of Hashem is protected. It is inside these boxes with the mechitzos, so that we could put the name of Hashem on us. We can have the name of Hashem on us without dying. V'zeh mahusa tefillin. That's what tefillin is. Derech kol elu mechitzos l'kshor yichud Hashem el chush ha'adam. Maybe what would happen if Hainu Mikusharim and Hashem HaKadosh B'li Mechitzos? What would happen if we were able to tie Hashem's name onto us without these mechitzos? A person would have such clarity, such dveikus to Hashem, if we were able to put the shame of Hashem on us. We would just be totally unable to be in this world anymore. That's what it says. The Gemara in Chagiga says that Arba Nichnas Lapardes. There are four great Tanoim that went into the heavens. They said certain Shemos and they went into the heavens. One of them came out whole. That was Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was able to see what he saw and come back and grow from the experience. One was Elisha ben Avuya. He became a kofer afterwards. Why exactly we're not going to go into right now. And there were two others, Ben Azai and I don't remember which one was which, but one of them went crazy from what he saw, and the other one died. And the Pasha says he died because he was so dovuk to the Shekhinah at that moment. His soul just left him. It just when you're so dovuk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so that's it. There's no reason to stay here in an earthly body. Why do I need that? Which is why it's amazing. What's totally amazing about Moshe Rabbeinu, the Midrash says about Moshe Rabbeinu, that the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want to leave its body, didn't want to leave Moshe Rabbeinu's body. Ad kedei kach, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'atzmo said, come, you're going to be with me. You're going to be directly with me, together with me. And the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu said, no, I'd rather stay dovuk to this body. I'd rather stay dovuk to the body. You have to imagine what the level of Moshe Rabbeinu was. And how did Hashem take the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu? In a shika, for the kiss. Now over here, we'll get to it at a different point. Do you know what a neshika is? A neshika is when two souls connect. Because the neshika from the mouth, that's what the means the pasuk in Shir Hashirim, that you should be noishik minishikas pihu. Obviously, a kiss is from the mouth. So what does it mean, nishikas pihu? It means mouth to mouth. It means your neshama is dovuk to the other one's neshama. So Kadosh Baruch Hu is saying, I'm going to give a kiss to Moshe Rabbeinu, and Moshe Rabbeinu's neshama was directly dovuk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's how he was able to take out his neshama. Because he would mamish just in one moment, just totally dovuk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If a person is totally dovuk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's it. There's no reason for physical goof anymore. So that's what would happen if a person had the actual Shem Hashem on him. So then his soul would just leave his body. Now the truth of the matter is that every Jewish man does have the Shem of Hashem on him, just not in one place. Just not in one place. It's not written in one Shem. But the Medrash says that every Jewish man who has a bris milah has the Shem of Hashem. Where is it? What's the Shem? Shakai. The Shem Shakai. Shin Dalad Yud. Where do you see Shin? Shin is on the nostril. Shin. The nostrils are the shape of a Shin. Where's Dalid? The Medrash says this. Dalid is in the hand. You hold your hand up and you with the thumb down, it makes a Dalid. Where's the Yud? Yud is the bris milah. That's where the Yud is. A little like hook, a turning. That's the bris milah. So you have the Shem of Hashem. And that's what it means that Avraham Avinu stands by the entrance to Gehenim and he sees if a Jew has a bris milah, he doesn't let him go because he has the Shem of Hashem on him. The Shem of Hashem. But what if you don't have a bris milah? Then you're missing the Yud. If you're missing the Yud, then the Shadim can get you. Because then you only have a Shin and Daled. So coming back over here, if it's possible that the whole Shem of Hashem would be written on you in one place, you would just be totally dovuk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You wouldn't have any need for a goof anymore. Kol shaykh of the mechitzos, you wouldn't have any shaykh the mechitzos of the world. Lo shaykh as yiyot adam the polo v'araso ade erev. You become like Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Nothing eina v'sarav kol misha oizik b'derech eretz. Anybody who's involved with any Gashmi thing, you just burn it up. How can a person be involved with anything in Gashmis when you're totally double to a Kodesh Baruch Hu? Rak al yedei mechitzos efshar lisbol oitzim kedushas Hashem kashur elav. Only because we have these mechitzos. Without leaving the Gashmistic world, you can have a Kodesh Baruch Hu davuk to you. Now I'm just going to finish up because we're already a little bit over time. He finishes up here by saying this is all true by Tefillin, but when it comes to Shabbos, it's something completely different. Shabbos is that Hashem puts His name into our head and our hearts. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is here with us on Shabbos. That's the ois of Shabbos. That's the specialness of Shabbos. That K'viyochel Hashem is totally with us and is davuk to our group, and that's why we don't need an ois Tefillin on Shabbos. And this is why a person looks different on Shabbos. There's a certain shining of a person's face on Shabbos. They say, I forgot who it was, maybe it was Yeruchim, that on Shabbos he looked different. He looked like a different person on Shabbos. The more we're davuk to Hashem, the more we can take that Shabbos, and the Shem of Hashem is taka davuk to us on Shabbos. But just like when a person wears tefillin, right? We say, when a person wears tefillin, he can't be mesiach das. If a person, that's what's the danger of wearing tefillin all day, is because chas v'sholom, he shouldn't have a guf noki, and if a person's not paying attention, how could you have the shame of Hashem on you, and your guf is not clean? So you can't be mesiach das. You always have to be thinking about the fact that you have your tefillin on, which is why most people can't wear tefillin all day. And we put it on Shachris and then we take it off because you can't be mesiach das from it. It's the same thing by Shabbos. We can't be mesiach das from Shabbos because that's what Shabbos is. Shabbos is that Hashem is with us in our heads and in our hearts. Right? That's what the tefillin is. Rosh and Yad. The Rosh is obviously the Rosh. The Yad is opposite our heart. Because Hashem is putting His name on our head and He's putting His name on our heart. And that's what's happening on Shabbos too. And that's why Shabbos is totally different. It's an ois, you don't need tefillin. But we have to be so careful. Just like tefillin can't be mesiach das, so to Shabbos, you have to think all the time, how could I be thinking about other things that aren't shaykh to Shabbos on Shabbos? It has to be only Shabbos. Okay, we're going to stop over here.
Thank you for joining Real Judaism, where we explore Torah's wisdom for real life. Created by J Foundations and produced by Eli Podcast Productions. Find more episodes at realjudaism.org and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.